Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 3. Ain't no wedding like a West Side wedding, which I was like, what does that mean? But anyway, we do a quick therapist review here on this channel and provide some information regarding relationships and dynamics. As you know, these couples give us great material to work with. First, of course, if you like the content, of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join in on the conversation. First, we have Morgan and Ben. Now, there's not much to cover here because Ben has COVID. The one thing that I can note is just that Morgan is so disappointed, with the delay in their wedding, and I can't imagine how she feels with the anxiety of marrying a stranger. It would be different if you had to postpone your wedding and you knew who you were marrying, but the fact that you don't know who you're marrying and they have COVID, so like a part of you is angry with them and a part of you is like anxious. Like it's a lot. I can only imagine what she's going through and what he's going through too, feeling the guilt of having COVID and you don't know this person. It's a mess, but hopefully things work out. As we see next episode, they do eventually get married. Next we have Stasha and Nate. And, it's interesting. I see that they are enjoying kissing each other. Stasha says she really likes kissing Nate and it gives her butterflies. Nate is really attracted to Stasha, but one thing that's not sticking out for me is like who Nate is. He seems to be very closed off and uses a lot of humor when he's interacting with people. I'm not really getting a sense of like his character and who he really is. And that's kind of put me on the fence with him. What he's leading with is a lot of sexual energy and talking about being forceful with her in the bedroom as his friends were asking questions about sexual positions and how he was going to put her in certain positions. And I'm like, we don't even know. There's so much we don't know about each other before we get here. I understand that the production makes them have the sex conversation at the reception every single season. And at the same time, I think there's a way to handle it where it's honoring both of you, honoring your wife, honoring yourself, and your respect for each other. He did say, that sex can wait and that he is really just wanting to get to know her. So that is giving me some hope, but there's a part of me that's a little leery of Nate. One of the things as Stasha is meeting his friend, and she is getting really emotional, talking about their times together and their game nights and hiking and watching the sunset. Stasha's picking up on some things that are not okay. I am too. I don't know if there was something that happened between her and Nate or if she has some feelings towards him. They've known each other for a year because she said she moved to California a year ago. So this is just 1 year. And at the same time, she's moved from one location to a new location. So I can understand why there's some loyalty there to him. It just seems like there's more to the story than just friends here. And I wonder how that's going to play because Stasha is very no nonsense. I kind of just get that sense from her. She reminds me a lot of Jasmina in her demeanor a little bit. So I'm leery. I'm leery about this dynamic, him being closed off, not really knowing who he is, this young lady, and how she is like talking to herself about how she's going to grieve her friend. And that is a thing. That's a real thing. I don't want to make light of that. That's a real thing to like, oh, now me and my friends, our relationship is going to be different because they're married. And at the same time, there seems to be more to the story. I don't like to make assumptions about the cast members on the show, as I really like to give grace to them. And also, I know that this is edited television and there's production. Like there's so many different factors that are happening. There's so many things we don't know. So I don't like to make assumptions. And at the same time, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck. And I'm seeing a lot of chemistry and a lot of feelings between Nate and his friend. And I'm seeing how this is going to potentially be an issue. Stasha also said that she wants to globetrot. Like she wants to globetrot around the world. Her job, it allows her that flexibility. And I'm wondering how Nate's going to feel about that with the root of friendships that he's made here in California. He said he was open to it, but he seemed a little less open to it than Stasha, who was like, no, this is kind of my life plan. I structured my life so that I will be able to move how I want to move. And I will be able to have houses, wherever I need to have them, so I can travel and do what I need to do. I'm seeing some differences between her and Nate. We'll see how they work out the compromise, since we know that that's going to be an issue with Stasha's personality. We don't know much about Nate other than he likes to talk about weird subjects and he's a freak in the sheets. That's all we know. So we shall see how this balances out as they continue to progress in their relationship. Next, we have Alexis and Justin. Justin and Alexis are completely smitten with each other. They cannot take their eyes off of each other. They just keep kissing each other. It is beautiful to see this connection and this physical chemistry as they're building their relationship. She talked about how she feels so comfortable with a stranger and she just can't believe that. She did also confess that, hey, I'm not that attracted to him, and there's some shallow stuff, but once I got to know who he was, that's really what's important to me. Alexis did say that she feels like Justin is a good balance for her, as she's more of a firecracker, and we do see it. Like, she does not hold anybody up, period. Like, she does not hold anybody up. She is very direct. She's very direct. She says exactly what's on her mind. It's something that's very endearing, and that's something that can also cause a little issue, as we hear from his friends that he is sensitive. We know this. Sensitive is, to me, isn't a red flag. I don't see that as a red flag. I see that as he is in tune with his feelings, as long as he's able to express them in a way that is vulnerable and safe. That is the key thing. And sometimes if you are sensitive, a person who does tend to lean into their feelings, and then like rational thought comes in a little bit later, as long as he takes a moment, takes a break, takes a moment to cool down, they should be okay. It's just her directness. I feel like that's going to be something that Justin has to get used to. Justin stated that, he owns up to his mistakes. If they do get into an argument, that he's going to own his stuff, and that he's also a natural pleaser, and he really just wants to make her happy. And my therapist ears were like, eek. I think that, yes, there's a balance to it. Yes, you want to make your partner happy, and at the same time, that's not your sole responsibility. Your partner, that's their responsibility to make them happy, to speak for their mind. As long as he's not anticipating her needs or living in her mind to guess what's going to make her happy while sacrificing his needs, that's going to be, that sometimes is where it can be a little tricky with pleasers. People who have a people pleaser part tend to ignore their needs and sacrifice, and then when their needs are not met, there's usually a blow up. There's usually a reaction because they want people to anticipate their needs just like they anticipate everyone else's needs, and not everybody does that. We do see that Alexis really enjoys this information, as she is getting really flirty with him at the wedding, which I'm all for. Justin handled meeting her sisters very well, said that she was going to be, his top priority under God, and that he was going to do right by her. Her sister, or one of her sisters, seemed to be very, very protective of Alexis, and showed some signs that she's going to try to insert herself into their marriage. That's a little concerning. I'm hoping that Alexis will be able to set boundaries, understand completely that family members are protected, especially if they're marrying a stranger. You didn't get a chance to fill them out or to have whatever input to show like, hey, consider this red flag or consider this red flag. And at the same time, it's up to Alexis to be able to navigate this relationship, and her sister needs to give her the space to be able to do that on her own. But I see that probably Alexis will be okay. Alexis and her bridesmaids were talking about the size of Justin's genitalia. I'm like, I'm really tired of the topic of I'm really tired of this topic. Justin talked about it, for the first 2 episodes. Now they're talking about it, and I agree with her other sister. Why is this our business? As long as Alexis is happy, everything should be fine. Alexis was meeting with Justin's friends. We heard from the after party, Justin said his friends had some concerns because she's been proposed to 3 times. And so they're like, hey, how do you know that she's the one? Justin said that he took it to heart at first, and it was a hard thing for him to accept, but then he heard what they had to say. So that's showing me like Justin's able to hear you out. So I'm seeing some good stuff with Justin. Now, the other thing that was concerning me about Justin was at the after party scene where Alexis says, yeah, we saw each other. I definitely saw you on Hinge. That was some superficial stuff that I had to get over. And I just really appreciate your personality and who you are. You have amazing personality. So I'm seeing here again, she's got some tact. She didn't say like, I didn't find you attractive at all. But, now I'm getting to know you and great. She was able to cover his feelings in that moment. Now, this is the part that's concerning to me, was that he said that he didn't remember talking to her. And so then Keisha asked him at the after party, so what were you doing on Hinge 4 months ago? And I'm like, well, Alexis was on Hinge 4 months ago too, but 4 months ago, and it seems that he was on Hinge so much that he didn't remember how many people he was interacting with, which it just, I guess, is understandable with the numbers game that happens in online dating. He did say though that she rejected him initially, and so I wonder how Justin feels about that per se. I wonder how that's sitting with him. But then there's also a part of me that's concerned about honesty and Justin's integrity in this relationship. It's not something that I am putting down with a rubber stamp saying that he's a player and he's going to hurt Alexis. I don't see evidence of that, but there is something that's giving me pause to say, I wonder how Justin's really going to honor this situation. He seems very smitten. He seems very protective of Alexis. But this is the wedding day, so we shall see. Time will tell. I'm kind of like the sister on this, where I'm like, actions will tell me really how Justin feels about this marriage. And actions will tell me how Alexis is going to work through this attraction piece. But they definitely seem to have a lot of physical chemistry as they are in the bed and they're turning off the light, and we don't know if they're going to consummate their marriage, but it seems like potentially it's going to happen soon. Next, we have Lindy and Miguel. And Lindy's first slow dance was with Miguel. I thought that was very sweet. And she was freaking out like, I don't know where to put my hands. I don't know what to do with this. And he was able to walk her through it. He said on the after party that he also had kind of a sheltered upbringing. So he was able to kind of relate to that. It wasn't something that was shocking to him. Someone who has personally attended parochial schools, that went to a religious school, that is very typical. Like, my school did not have a prom. And at the same time, I did have other experiences outside of that. And it seems like her family just is very, very, very strict and very religious. So they're asking each other, what did you think? And she's like smitten. Lindy is all in, crushing on her husband. He speaks Spanish. She's been obsessed with Spanish, but at the same time couldn't really learn it. But she did pick up some stuff because they're able to have a little conversation. He said that she speaks it fine. But Miguel made a mistake now. And he owned up to it. And he owned up to it at the after party, saying that, hey, I don't need to tell you that you're beautiful. You know that you're beautiful. Miguel, you need to tell her that she's beautiful. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a woman, but I know that even men need to hear, like, you looking good. It's an affirming, it's words of affirmation, it's a love language. Get into it because you're married. You are married. And so, yes, you're going to need to tell her that she's beautiful. She's going to have to tell you that you're handsome. And because she's crushing on you so hard, you're going to hear it. So you're going to have to get that back. But Lindy handled that so well. She was like, yes, you are. You better tell me that I'm... She said, yes, you are. You better tell me that I'm beautiful. Okay. Like, she was able to roll with it. I don't know if it was like the high of the wedding and how things are going so well for her that she was able to roll with it, but She was like every little curveball that he's throwing her, she's able to catch it. Like, oh, okay, Dungeons and Dragons, you're nerdy, I get it, it's fun. Whew, oh, you think you're not gonna tell me I'm beautiful? Think again. And so she's able to navigate it. And his calm nature kind of puts his calm nature kind of makes me question sometimes if he is really being very truthful. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. It's like, great. Like, yeah, it's perfect. And I'm like, is it though? I'm wondering if he's having any parts of him that are telling him like, oh, this is something to be concerned about, or oh, this is something to be concerned about. And he just is like not listening to those parts. He's stifling them because he does have a tendency to not listen to the red flags or ignore the red flags. I wonder if he's not listening to like his intuition, or in his parts of him that may be like annoyed with Lindy, or might be like, oh, she's really bubbly, or she's really into me like the first day. Like, that's a lot. Like, I'm wondering if he's really being 100% honest and genuine about how he's feeling on his wedding day. They're definitely like one of the couples that I am rooting for the most this season. So I'm hoping that he is meaning what he's saying. But there's a part of me that's like, Miguel, are you being honest? It's just it's his body language. It seems so stiff to the point where it's being bridled, almost like it's being controlled. But again, them speaking Spanish with each other, so freaking cute. Lindy is over the moon, kissing the cardboard head that his goofy friends made, which again, and she's embracing it. I know so many people who maybe been put off by the cardboard heads made by his friends, but she just, again, embraced it. Both of them have two very protective families that show up in different ways. So Miguel's big sister, you can see that she's in protective mode with him. She sees how nice of a guy her brother is. He's had his heart broken over and over again. And so it's understandable where she is. But she talks about how they grew up without his parents really being a part of his life. Of course, I'm so curious about all of that. I'm like, how do you get from being a child that your parents aren't really present, your dad wasn't around, and your mom wasn't there, and you have a PhD? Like, how do you get there? And how are you so well adjusted? How are you so well adjusted? And now my brain, as I'm talking this out, it's like, is this bridling thing? Is this control thing where you have put your emotions like in a box and like stored it, and then how you maintain, how you survive by being this pillar of calm when on the inside there's other things happening? I'm really feeling like my hypothesis might be right, just even talking that out. Being well adjusted seems to be how he survived all of that during his childhood. And so I'm concerned about what's under there and how that's going to play in their relationship. Lindy's family is protective on the religious aspect, as her brother makes it very, very clear that he wants her spouse to be someone who believes in a higher power. Miguel said at the after party that Lindy did give him a heads up that her family was going to want to talk about religion. And at the same time, Miguel was like really like stuck. He didn't know what to say. He didn't want to offend them. And he also wanted to speak true to what was true for him. And he struggled. Lindy's brother was like constantly hammering that nail. Like, no, like it's really important to me. And I'm gonna say to him what I said to Alexa's sister. If Lindy is happy with Miguel, then that's all that matters. You wanting her husband to be a person who believes in a higher power, that's something you have to deal with and reconcile for you. Like, she's fine. She's not super religious. She does still believe in God, but it's not something that's mandatory for her. So if it's not mandatory for her, then he's got to let that go. He's gonna let it go. You see also Lindy's sister kind of struggling with this aspect, as Miguel's like, how do we know who's right and who says who's right? Like, that's not for me to decide, and that's just not who I am. And again, they're happy with each other. There is that part of me, like I said before, that's like really curious about Miguel and how he handles distress. It seems how he handles distress is denying it and bottling it up. So we'll see how this interacts with Lindy, who is very anxious and has lots of emotions, as her family describes her, and Miguel, who is more contained with his feelings. How that's going to work. Are there going to be times where Lindy's like pulling at him to like get his feelings? That's what it feels like. She's going to be like pulling at him. Tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel. And she's going to be kind of left in the dark. We'll see. I'm not saying these are definites. This is just what I'm seeing from their personalities and the different parts of them that they've developed from their experience. Last, we have Kristen and Mitch. So Kristen's dad is still like just floored at all of this being put on him. I feel so bad. And his concerns are like, hey, after the camera's gone, you don't know who this guy is and what he's going to do. And this is legally binding. Like, this is a lot. And Kristen said, yeah, it is. And are you going to back me up on this? And he contains his worries. He states his worries and at the same time supports his daughter and says, hey, you've been through a lot. You did it the right way and look what happened. So I get why you're probably doing it this way. I'm going to walk you down the aisle. I am mad that her dad looks like he's going golfing or bowling instead of a wedding because she didn't prepare him. I'm like this. Here's my 2 cents. You didn't ask for it, but you get it for free. If I'm going to do what Kristen did, which is surprise my dad the day of the wedding that I'm getting married to a stranger, I'm going to have a tux or a suit for him to wear so that he won't look like he going bowling on national television while I'm walking in a wedding dress. I'm just saying. That kind of irked my buttons. Like, you gonna put him in a situation where he looking, okay. I'm just saying. Mitch says that he wants to get married at first sight because he feels like it's the only way that he would ever get married. This Mitch, I'm just a little concerned about that. I'm really concerned about that. Like, oh, I'm going to get married at first sight because it's the only way it's probably going to happen. What does that mean? Like, is that because you feel like nobody's going to choose you, or you're not going to choose to be with somebody, and so you're going to put yourself in a situation where you have no choice but to make it work? No. I see a lot of signs in Mitch that he tends to be he gets very fixated on things. Mitch gets very fixated on things, and he allows that to take him out of the experience. He gets very fixated on things to the point where he dismisses everything else. Everything else that could be happening that's wonderful, it's not going to be wonderful because my beard, right? My beard isn't how it's supposed to be. I got this Band-Aid on my head. Nobody knows how to tie this bow tie, She keeps holding her dress. I don't know if you heard him mention that. She keeps holding her dress and she's cold. Those were the two things that he was like really, really focused on the whole wedding, and not just like the experience of getting married. I know that he said that he didn't want a big wedding. He didn't want this big thing. And I don't know if the production would allow him to have more of a say in the ceremony. So I understand why he was a little uncomfortable with that. And at the same time, I'm seeing that he allows these things to kind of take him out of the experience. And I want to make sure I'm clarifying. It's not that he's doing this purposely, right? There's a part of him that gets fixated on little details. And so I'm curious about like what is that protecting him from? Is that protecting him from the fact that he is afraid, that he's fearful, and so he instead of focusing on the anxiety and being scared of marrying a stranger, you're going to focus on these little details and fuss about them the whole day because that will help take your mind off of things. I don't know, but that's what I see. That's what I see. Mitch bought her a nice plant as like a symbol of their relationship, that, it's going to need watering, that there's going to flower and it's going to bud. That's, his pun, showing his clever nature. She really appreciated that. As she likes plants, she really appreciated her engagement ring. I mean, that ring was gorgeous. She saw it as a symbol of things coming full circle, as she had to pay for her own engagement ring because the engagement ended. And that's just so awful. In my mind, I'm like, he put your engagement ring on your joint credit card. Shouldn't that have been on his credit card? All the questions. So I'm getting the sense that Kristen has a part of her that really looks for meanings and confirmation for things to put her at ease. And so that can be really helpful. And at the same time, it can also make things more than what they are. And it sounds like maybe that's something she did in her first engagement, in her first relationship, and may also be doing it with this relationship as well. As we see that she is completely attracted to Mitch, which is wonderful. He seemed to be more attracted to her mother, as he was like, hey, is that my bride? Her mother looked absolutely gorgeous, fabulous, which is probably another reason why I'm mad that her dad, again, wasn't able to look his best. But the family did a great job with selling their assets and in their introductions in the wedding. Mitch and Kristen had very, very, again, reasonable vows. They talked about how they were committed to the process and how they appreciated each other's bravery to get to this place. Mitch kept trying to get a jacket for Kristen, which I thought was cute. I thought that was really endearing, that he was, really being thoughtful about her being cold and saying like, hey, I will pitch a fit. Like, I will create a ruckus at this wedding to get you a jacket. So we're seeing where he's trying to let her know, like, I do this. I make a scene. And so, I'm going to lean into my curiosity and get curious about why is it that he needs to make a scene? Why does he feel he needs to make a scene in order to get his needs met, in order to feel heard? That's something I'm curious about. Mitch seems very slow to warm up, like he's a person who takes a lot of time to really get comfortable with other people or people that he doesn't know. And he really values like being true and authentic to himself. Like, genuineness is something that's definitely a true core belief for Mitch. And so I'm wondering if there's I'm wondering too if he's experienced some experiences where people were dishonest to him and disloyal to him. Usually that's the case. And so we haven't seen his dad. We don't know much about his dad. Mitch and his mother seem to have a really close relationship, as he like affectionately call her mommy. And so we'll see. Mitch met Kristen's mom, and he was struggling. He was really struggling on how to communicate. He wanted to communicate without turning her off. Like, you can see this internal struggle. Like, I want to be honest with you. I want to tell you what I'm feeling, but I'm also scared to tell you what I'm feeling because, it could potentially, make you feel like I'm not a good person for your daughter. Because he did say that he wasn't initially attracted to Kristen, that the glitz and the glam is not his thing. So he really wants to see her, dressed down, no makeup, and really just see who she really is. Like, he does not like mirrors, smoke and mirrors. Doesn't like razzmatazz, right? The glow of the wedding day. That's not something that he likes or is comfortable with. That's like, he's a meat and potatoes kind of guy. Like, don't give me the salad, don't give me the bread, don't give me the appetizers. I want to see. I came here for the main entree. Let me get to the main entree. I want to know who you really are. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just curious how that's going to make Kristen feel. He hasn't given her many compliments about her appearance. And I'm wondering how he's going to communicate that to her, that I just really want to know who you are, and how long is it going to take him, since he is slow to warm up, to really be able to give her some affirming words that lets her know, like, hey, I really like you, or this has been great for me, this process of getting to know you, especially with Kristen's experience of her past relationship where he was disloyal and dishonest. Maybe Mitch's nature of being very honest could be very comforting for her. And at the same time, him being very slow to warm up could also be very anxiety provoking for her. Like, I really like you. I like bald men. I like men with beards. You're tall. You have a wonderful relationship with your nieces. Like, these are all things that are pluses for her. And at the same time, she wants to know, like, do you like me too? So we shall see. Let me know what you think about these couples. This episode didn't really give us a whole lot, but the honeymoon will be very, very telling. If you have stuck around for this long, please like the video, comment below, let me know your thoughts about these couples, and of course, subscribe to the channel. And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.